some of you may have noticed this big contraption on my counter. And if you know me in real life, I'm sure you've heard all about it now because it has changed the way that I think about bread. And by doing these YouTube videos, hopefully I talk less to my acquaintances. But basically, Google Bread Becker, Sue Becker, and she has tons of great, phenomenal classes and information on nutrition and wheat and how wheat is good for you. And it has opened up a whole new world for us because I have always treated bread as kind of like a dessert or something that you shouldn't eat as often because I would gain weight, and I know that it's not as good for you. However, now we eat French toast and muffins and pancakes and sandwiches, basically tons of bread, and I have noticed great things. So that is the short of it. And we have started doing Ezekiel bread. So I have not on this channel told you what Ezekiel bread is. You can Google it. You can go to Bread Beckers. I'm going to read it out of their cookbook, but they have it online, so I think it's fine. I'm not going to give you the recipe, but just the ingredients. So if you're familiar in scripture, Ezekiel mixes, I think it's 8 different things into a loaf, and he eats it every day for over a year and survives. So that was a little intriguing to me. And I've seen a couple other videos on Ezekiel bread. At first I thought, it sounds kind of gimmicky. And then once we started eating it in pancakes and tortillas and muffins and all of those things, I started really being like, wow, this is really good. I mean, we can have muffins for lunch. And so anyways, that makes things a lot easier. And then I started researching and finding out, of course, it's high in fiber and it's actually high in protein. So let me tell you what's in it first. So if you can see as I move around the jar, pickle jar, in the big, huge pickle jar, there is red hard wheat, spelt, barley, millet, lentils, great northern beans, red kidney beans, and pinto beans, all in this. This is one packet. I think this makes, I can't remember, I think it's like 2 loaves, or it makes like 4 things of 12 muffins. So what I do is I mix up this, or I mix it all the way up, and I put it in the pantry, and then when we want muffins or pancakes or something, then I will either make them sourdough, or I will just pour it out in my meal and go ahead and mill it and eat it right away. Because of the beans in it, the muffins are very high in protein. So that's why I said we can have muffins for lunch or as a good snack. Some people use it for fasting purposes. So you just use fasting bread and water, which is awesome. So some of the vitamins, it has vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin B6, it has iron, did I miss any? Vitamin E, C, everything. Oh, and B12. So all of that is amazing. I think it's awesome that it has iron in it, and it tastes really good. I do not like it as well in the loaf. All of the recipes that I try to do very minimal ingredients if at all possible, and I try to sourdough it. So their recipe uses yeast, so I don't actually use their recipe. I will use this combination and then I will turn it into a sourdough loaf. A lot of times though, it just doesn't rise as good, so I may play with it more, but I honestly we love the muffins and pancakes, and so we typically just put them in a muffin, and that's easier. You can take it with you, whereas a loaf of bread might kind of fall apart. So you can make it in a loaf. I have made it in a loaf, and I think she said they do half pound. I think it's on here. Half pounds. You eat half a pound every day. So for fasting purposes, I don't know who decided this, but you would measure out half a pound and then you would divide that up and eat on it over the day for fasting purposes. So this is Ezekiel bread. If you were curious when you saw, I think it was me and Jolie making Ezekiel muffins, beans for breakfast, and thought, what in the world is she eating? And then what is that big contraption in the thing? So yeah, so this is our meal and I like it. It's now very interesting. These are stone meals, so it's very interesting to look in scripture and find, to hear them talk about stones and talk about the stone meals and to talk about Ezekiel bread and how Jesus is living bread. And so it's very, I don't know, it's interesting. And if you see me in person, don't ask me about it unless you really want to know. So yeah, if you're interested in Ezekiel mix, you can buy it from Bread Beckers in a 6-gallon bucket that's already mixed up. It's pretty expensive. You can buy all of the ingredients from them. You can also buy a lot of the ingredients off of Amazon or Azure Standard. I just placed my first order with Azure Standard, and everything on there seemed very affordable. I was very surprised actually. So I'm going to order from them, and then I'm going to parcel out a bunch and just see how much it costs to see if it's cheaper. But I definitely think it's cheaper than buying the 6-gallon bucket. But if you're a family of 2 and you don't eat very much of it, it might just be easier to buy a huge bucket and not have to do all the work of buying everything individually, parceling it out, putting it in a container and figuring out how to save it. But so far we love it and we eat it all the time.